After Lyft's disappointing public debut, investors seem to be tempering their IPO excitement when it comes to ride-hailing. But is Lyft's struggle specific to its business, or is Uber in for a choppy trade as well? Here to discuss more about the ride-sharing rivals and what investors should expect from an Uber IPO is former Uber Chief Business Officer Emil Michael. Hello.
Hi there.
So you joined Uber in 2013. You saw the company through some major transitions. So in your view, what is the difference between Lyft and Uber? And we know you don't work for the company anymore.
Right. I think about Uber more like a technology platform, right? It's global. It has more than one product line, Uber Eats, Uber Freight, and more to come. And so when you're in 90 some odd countries, you have 4 different product lines, it's a little different than being in 1 or 2 countries with one product line. And I think the power of Uber will be, can they continue to invent new uses of that platform like Google? Google has Google Search, Google Maps, Google Gmail, and so on. So I think that's why they're kind of different companies.
As an early investor in Uber, as an early shareholder, you still have some shares in the company, I would presume.
I do. I'm biased.
What's the environment like in there as the company is going from a couple billion valuation to 10 billion to 50 billion to 70 billion in the span of a couple of years?
Yeah.
Because I think we've discussed on the show a lot the idea of companies that become verbs, and Ubering is now a verb, and I think that transition really happened while you were CBO there.
Yeah, it was an incredible thing to be part of. When you join something that's 100, 200 people, and then in 3 years, it gets to be 15,000 employees in all these countries around the world, worth all these kind of staggering sums. It's like you're in the eye of a storm, and you're trying to keep up. But it was really quite exciting, and we got to invent things like Uber Eats, which people didn't believe in at first, and now look how big they've become and interesting. So the little seeds you plant early on ended up providing these great trees of fruit.
Is there anything that concerns you about Uber? There's talk about how their market share has been kind of decreasing a little bit. Their growth rate has been slowing down. Does that at all concern you as a shareholder?
Yeah, I'd say that you always want your markets to grow fast. But here's the way I think about it is when we started, no one was taking cars. And then we had black cars. That was like a little tiny sliver of the market. And then UberX and Uber Pool came, and then a certain market share became available to ride sharing, whether it's Lyft or Uber. But I think what you'll see now is kids who are not getting their driver's licenses, they're going to rely on rideshare for the rest of their lives. And so you're going to see this younger cohort continue to grow. So the whole market's going to expand. It may have some dips and valleys, but I think it's going to get multiple times bigger than it is today.
Do Uber and Lyft need each other? Like, do you need to have 2 players in here? Is it like Coke and Pepsi? Or is this a winner-take-all market?
I think it's good for consumers, for drivers to have more than one player, for sure. It keeps the companies innovating, and innovation's good. We know that most companies, as a monopoly, there's not a lot of innovation that comes out of there. So, and I do think the market can support 2 players. Even look at Google. They have, Microsoft Bing, which no one really talks about, owns 20 or 30% of the market. So I do think there's room for 2 players, even if you have one that's bigger than the other that's generating profits.
During your time at Uber, Travis Kalanick was CEO over there. I would ask, are you still in touch with him? Have you talked to him recently? And does he have thoughts on where the company has gone over the last year or so since Dara has been named CEO?
I mean, he's on the board and a big shareholder, so I'm sure he gives his advice and consent to the board. We're friends, and I think he's doing great. He's got a new venture. He's kind of moving on and doing his thing.
Where do you live? Can I ask you if you live in San Francisco? Only because my next question is about, have you been just following all these IPO stories about how wealthy people are getting out in the Bay Area, and Uber's part of that. Do you feel like, as somebody that's been there, at the beginning of a place, that this is getting a little frothy in any way?
I moved out of San Francisco to the promised land of Miami Beach, Florida for the last couple of years. I'd say that while I was there, and I'm sure now with all these IPOs, there's only 800,000 people in the whole city. So you can actually imagine that a few thousand people looking for homes or whatever, can alter the dynamics of the real estate market or the restaurant sort of market and so on. So I'm sure it's feeling pretty hot and heavy out there now with all these IPOs coming up.
And what are you up to right now? What's next for you? Because it's certainly been kind of a whirlwind the last couple of years.
Yeah.
What is exciting to you right now? I mean, you came to Uber from Clout, so where do you see things going?
I spent the last year and a half, I probably did 30 angel investments. I've met 100 entrepreneurs all over the world in different countries, figured out what the new ideas are out there. I've been paying it forward, trying to coach young entrepreneurs, whether women or people of color, trying to get their shot at all the money that's flowing around now. And it's been sort of an incredible year and a half for that. And I think I'll probably incubate a few things, probably continue to invest in a few things until I find the big idea I want to run myself.
Cool.
Someone will call you and ask you to be the CEO, I guess. Just wait for that call, right?
Who knows? Who knows?
Emil Michael is a former CBO at Uber. He will come back when he has his next adventure.
Yes.
The big idea.
We can get him out of Miami Beach.
Yeah.
Now that we know.
Or maybe we get to go to Miami Beach.
That's a better answer.
Yeah, there you go. Neil, thanks so much.
Thank you.